All right. Good morning, everyone. So we've been here for a few minutes already, kind of talking and sharing. One of the norms that we do in our community, our professional learning community, is that we like to make sure that we're spending time really connecting with one another and humanizing each other. One of the things I say frequently is we are not robots, right? And so hopefully as we go through today's presentation and you become familiar with some of the things that we're doing to adapt for students, you'll understand how important it is that we are humanizing ourselves and our students. So I am going to begin with a short presentation to help everyone kind of hopefully get in the space of understanding what we're doing. Today's conversation is around teaching students who are incarcerated during a pandemic. Specifically, everyone good with the screen share? Yes? Can you all see my screen? Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we just did brief introductions talking. I'm going to talk about the remote education model we're using, and then we're going to move on to a discussion, and we'll use the last part for Q&A if there is Q&A, but we definitely won't keep anyone beyond the time that you all want to stay. So one of the things that I said in the emails was like, if you need to leave, right, or people might be popping in and out, that's perfectly fine. So feel free to do whatever you need to do for yourself. As we begin to talk about the teaching students who are incarcerated during a pandemic, one of the things I want to say is that we scheduled today's session based on the time that our professional learning community meets every week. But I made a big error by not consulting with Mari about this. It's also right now the big administration meeting is going on at Folsom. So there's quite a few administrators and supervisors who emailed and said they would love to be here and they can't because they have another meeting. So that was not intentional, but that's part of why we're recording. So let me talk a little about the students, because we liked to position this work. I like to position this work with the students. So first, we're a community college, and students who are incarcerated are part of our larger community. So what do we know about what's going on for students who are living in prison in the midst of this global pandemic? Well, one of the things I want to start by saying is there's a lot that we don't know because we're not there. Right? So there's no face-to-face instruction going on. So I'm going to attempt to tell you a little bit about what we know about the students. We have students that are living at Folsom Men's, Women's, and Folsom Minimum Security Yard. And we have students living at Mule Creek State Prison, yards A, B, C. There's an error on my PowerPoint, D or E. So the prison yards at Mule Creek have about 800 to 900, 950 on each of them. And I'm not sure how large the minimum security yard is at Folsom. The women's facility has been up to 100, but it's also been in flux down, so I'm not sure where it is. And Folsom Men's Prison has somewhere, give or take, around 2,000. So these are the communities that we're serving. We often talk about these as kind of separate centers. So the students who are incarcerated right now have no access to technology, no computer, no internet. So there is no email or other ways, no access to Canvas, anything like that. We also hear often from students, and some of the faculty may share it later, how much stress that students are experiencing during the pandemic. We have had outbreaks at every one of the prisons. And some of them have been very significant outbreaks. The other thing that we know is that students are pretty much in their cells most all of their day. So all extra programming has been shut down as far as I haven't heard any updates otherwise. Since the pandemic started, the extra programming has been shut down at each of our prisons. So what that usually means is that students have about an hour a day. And if they're working, they can also get out of their cell. So this is the amount of time that they're out of their cell. Also, if there's a very bad breakout on a yard, like a lot of COVID, then we're hearing from students that they're out of their cells 15 minutes, maybe a few times a week, or maybe each day. So what we know is that this is a high stress environment with limited physical body movement, and students are reporting the same kinds of stress similar to students on campus, except for I would say that for most of them, it's more intense. So the other thing we know is that students are taking college courses. However, like I said earlier, there's a lot of things that we don't know, and faculty will tell you later more about what they. Sorry, I'm monitoring. Yeah, there we go. I'm monitoring mutes right now, muting people, just because I'm getting a little background noise. So that's a little bit about what we know about the students. Now, based on that, what happened was we delivered this remote delivery, or we created this remote delivery model. This is a way that we try to honor regular and effective communication in the midst of a pandemic when there is no technology. So this cycle that you see on this presentation is what we do every week. Professors prepare class materials, the professors send those materials to printing, then we get the materials back as well as graded work that we already have. We put those all in envelopes, and then the materials get dropped off in our student work exchange to the employees at the prison. The employees, woo, I'm doing some crazy stuff here with my PowerPoint. So then after the envelopes and the work gets dropped off to our prison employees at the student exchange or our partners, then they take it back to the prison. They distribute it to all of the students. The students then finally get their class materials. They work on those class materials, put them back in the envelopes. They go back to our education partners. The class materials come back to us at our next weekly exchange, and the thing continues each week. So this can be hard for people to kind of get their mind around. It's so different than the way that technology, right, is going. But hopefully this will give you a brief overview of what this cycle looks like. So based on what this cycle looks like, how do we make this happen? I am so leery to share this slide because I feel like I've forgotten someone. This semester, we have 31 classes. I think that's right. Last semester, we had 26, 27 courses. So we have a lot of people on the team that have helped make this happen. And we have 23 faculty that have been doing this remote delivery between fall and spring. We have a bunch of people that are helping us. So all of our problem solvers, Regina, give a shout out to you. I see you're on the call. Colleen, Miss Kay, Vicky helped a ton last semester, and Mari. Kathy's here from printing. They have worked a lot. You're going to see a slide about printing in a moment. And Dana. In admissions and records, Christine and Annie, Dave and Sarah have helped us in media services, Annie in financial aid, and I'm sure there's others I'm missing. So whoever I'm missing, please tell me. As far as supervisors and helping us with receiving, because we need a lot of materials, Baba, Jen, and Missy have helped us. In addition to that, administrators, all of our instructional deans have been helpful in making sure that we get classes scheduled. And Monica Whitney at Folsom, and Jamie Mario and Brian King at District. We also have support from our academic senate, who created an ad hoc committee to help us better work with students who are formerly and currently incarcerated. And our union has also been active in negotiating specific things that we need for the prison. And there are many, many other people. So I hope that what you're getting the picture of is that what we do is labor intensive and needs a lot of people in a community to make happen. And so once we get all these people together and everyone's doing their stuff, we finally get a semester started. And we've finished 2 semesters in our remote delivery format. So now I have some fun pictures to show you, and I'm hoping that this will make it more real to you. So you'll see all of the work that printing has done, both, well, you'll see a little bit of the work they've done, both in textbook printing as open access textbooks, as well as open access, is that what we call it? Yeah, I think so. As well as printing of all of our course materials. So everything that goes to the student has to go in pen or in paper. And then there's tons of books that go out for all of the students. This semester, we started the semester with providing the facilities with books to be for the 950 or 60 students that started the semester. So we have lots of books, and you can see all of the fun books that we did at the beginning of the semester. Every week we prep envelopes, and in order to do that, we have a lot of supplies that are needed. So on the left-hand screen, you see in the fall, we didn't realize how many envelopes we would need, so we had to order some at the last minute. So those boxes came to my house. But down in the bottom, you see the materials on the left side. Those are the supplies that were given to faculty this semester to help them do their weekly envelope creation. In the middle, we have a couple faculty working on stuffing envelopes. Every week, some faculty drop envelopes off at my place, which is this bag sitting here in front of this door. And then after the envelopes are assembled, we typically have a stacks of envelopes. And what you see in this picture over here on the bottom right-hand side are pictures from two of my classes for the envelopes that went in at the very beginning of the semester. So what do we do once we have all of our envelopes? Well, we exchanged all social distancing with masks. We exchanged the work with our partners at the prison. And what you're seeing here are the cars being filled, us exchanging work. We drop off the work that we're sending in, and we pick up the work that students are sending back to us. And this happens each week on our student exchanges. And finally, each week we also grade and communicate with students. So this is just an example of the envelopes that I receive in one class, some graded papers that I think those are ones that I needed to grade. That's last semester's papers. And then in order to communicate with students, in addition to giving them written feedback, we provide weekly letters in their envelopes to kind of give them an overview of what's coming up and provide different tips and tricks that we would like to give them to help them be successful in our classes. So that is a lot in a very little amount of time, because what I'd really like to do is help everyone really get to the ability to hear what faculty and our other, all of the people on our team have been doing and learning throughout this time. So I want to start with this first question. I'm going to hit the screen off so we can actually have, or hit the screen share off in a second so we can actually have a discussion. And we'll just go through these questions. I will cut and paste them into the chat. And I'm going to just open it up now. I think that maybe the first question might be the most helpful to people. And so if anyone from any of our amazing prep faculty and the rest of our team would like to talk about the most important thing, or maybe the most pertinent thing that you would like other Folsom Lake College employees to know about your experience with teaching students who are incarcerated during the pandemic, anyone who would like to share an answer to that question, I would love us to begin our discussion. So you can just unmute yourself and go for it.
Hey, Kalina, can I jump in on that one real quick?
Go for it.
The one thing I enjoy, and the inmates seem to really take a liking to, is they realize the resources and look around the resources we have presently on this meeting that we have at Folsom Lake College, and the fact that we're not in the prison system itself, but we're outside, and we're willing to guide them, to lead them, to assist them in any way they can possibly think. And for them that realization becomes a reality, and it's kind of like it's kind of like a wow moment, because they realize there is help out there, rather than just the within the prison, that particularly our college is willing to sit down and help them, and give them the assistance they need. So I like seeing those wow moments when get our syllabus and get the information, particularly get the textbook and things like that. And I've even had some students ask me, can I purchase a textbook?
Mm.
So I think that enthusiasm carries throughout the entire course. So thank you for letting me share that.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Tony. Who?
They wouldn't ask about purchasing a textbook if they knew actually how much they cost.
Colleen. Colleen has done a lot of our, helped us with our ordering of textbooks. So she's got the inside scoop on that one. All right, I'm posting the question in the chat for those of you that are kind of like, what are we talking about? It's the morning. I haven't had enough coffee. So what's the most important thing that you'd like other FLC employees to know about your experience, or what's the most pertinent or pressing thing that you'd like to share?
Hey, I'll jump in, folks, if that's okay.
Yes, Alex.
Let me turn on my video. Sorry, guys. It's better.
Good
There we go.
morning.
Good morning. I was eating breakfast. I didn't want you guys to see me eating, so I turned that on.
Two meeting pluses.
You got to get it in when you can get it in, right? You know what, folks? For those of you who I don't know personally on this call, on the Zoom meeting, what I'd like for you to know is, number one, outside of the students that we teach, right? One of the most rewarding things for me so far in my experience is to meet all of the wonderful faculty that I have the honor of teaching next to. Kalinda and I go back because of our union days, so I know Kalinda, and we do other things besides this. But the faculty that I've met, Scott and Teresa and the rest of you, has been really rewarding, because I really feel like, one, there's a support network among us, right? There's this, to me, this feeling of solidarity among us, and the way that we share information when we get together on Wednesday mornings really helps me develop the kinds of strategies that I want to employ as a teacher. So I find that incredibly important. And the fact that when we bring up conversations, every one of my colleagues here are such interesting people and dedicated people to teaching. And I really find that that's really valuable. With my students, it's the same thing. I've been teaching, this is my second semester now teaching in the prep program. And it's amazing how much I learn from them, and how much I'm surprised every semester out of the blue. Somebody will analyze something, or say something, or will reflect, because I teach history, right? So I ask them to do historical reflections. We'll reflect on the history and how that history impacts them or their family. And it's just a wonderful experience. It really reminds me of why I began teaching in the first place. And that is the fuel that I think sustains me and many of us in those long hours when we're handwriting notes on handwritten work, those kinds of very tedious, and when your hands, you're cramping, and I'm thinking to myself, oh God, I hope they could understand what I'm writing to them. In those kind of hard moments, I remember the wonderful parts, and it just makes it so much more worthwhile. So I wanted to share that.
Thank you. Go for it, Scott.
Kalinda, it's Teresa. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say two things quickly. One is that I've been doing this for, I think, 3 years now, and I'm continually impressed with the quality of the work that a lot of these students turn in. And these are very bright, very talented people. I mean, a lot of them. I mean, everyone doesn't fit into that category, obviously, but there are some very smart, erudite, talented people that have, some of them just took a wrong turn. And of course, I think we all understand some of the circumstances that bring people to this to be incarcerated. If you want to read a story that's really, really compelling about that situation, there's a book called The Master Plan by Chris Wilson. This guy has an incredible journey, and he really highlights many of the experiences that our students have had. So that's the first thing, is that these people are really talented. The other thing is that it's very common for them to be genuinely grateful for our efforts as an instructor. I mean, I get notes from these guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to teach us. I mean, it's as Alex says, it's humbling, and it's also really rewarding. So that's my contribution to the conversation.
Thanks, Scott. Teresa, I think you want to go.
Yeah. So I've been teaching in the prep program now for about 5 years. And I think that one of the things that continues to strike me as very profound and sometimes heavy and sometimes delightful in the pandemic has been that many of our students, as Kalinda said, sometimes in the lockdowns, they've had maybe 15 minutes outside. All of them have not had any visitors since March. Okay, so the isolation and the obstacles and the mental health challenges that come with just being isolated, have been challenging for those of us who are out in the community. And so to be behind the wall and to be a student and to still be so committed. And I find that, this work that we're doing allows for another opportunity for students to communicate and be connected to the world outside of the isolation. And so, it has, aside from the opportunity to study, it's been a really powerful communication and connection with an outlet for students who sometimes, have been locked down. We're not talking about 5 days, months. We're talking about months. And often are being changed from housing, week to week because, somebody in this housing potentially has got symptoms and so they're being moved, et cetera. So I think that, I've actually even seen, where students are talking about, their mental health is really being tested, and having this outlet to communicate in their classwork and doing some writing has been really helpful for them. I think the thing that I would say has been most satisfying for me is, I call it the zing factor, right? It's that when when you see a student through their writing, find this next level of self-awareness, or find that, aha moment for themselves. And just, it's that zing factor that I get as a professor when I realize that I've been part of that journey, right? I'm part of that journey of this person who's in this environment, at this point, I don't care how or why they got there, right? That's not my bailiwick. I always say to my students when I'm even behind the wall in person is like, we're all here at the same place. We just, we're on the same airplane. We just brought a different bag of luggage, right? And so the thing that I think is powerful is that I get to be part of that journey of this student stepping into this amazing ability and capacity, and they're realizing that they can accomplish these things, and they are worthy and they are capable, because much of the environment is about kind of restricting and beating down and sometimes emotionally, and why not say it, right, spiritually and sometimes physically, right? And so it's a different outlet of freedom, and I get to be part of that journey. And, you know, education is something you can't take away from someone when they get it, no matter where they are. And I get to be part of that. And that's a huge zing factor for me. It's like, yes, that's why I'm doing this deal.
Thanks,
So
Teresa.
that's my.
I just want to add to what Scott and Teresa said, because, you know, Kalinda, you asked for examples. I'm a newbie to Folsom Lake College, but I've been teaching correspondence courses for almost a year now. And just last semester, I received a letter, handwritten, of course. Just want to read it, part of it, to, again, demonstrate what we get sometimes from the students that makes it all worth it and so inspirational. So this student says, and I teach psychology and peer support courses. So he said, I've learned so much about myself just from taking your classes, like the childhood trauma stuff. I watched my father kill my mother as a child, age 6. Now, because of you, I know why I have attention deficit disorder. Because of my ADD, I wasn't able to get my education, which shines through in my spelling. I came to prison with a 5th grade education, and now look at me. I will get my master's someday, overcome this, and help as many troubled kids as I can. So periodically we get to read something like that, and it's such a heartwarming feeling that just keeps you going no matter what obstacles we may face.
Thanks, Marina. I'm wondering if anyone else wants to share about something in general about the work that you do that you'd like other people to know before we move into kind of more specific questions. Okay, it's creepy quiet in here. So thank you, Veronica, for saving me.
Sorry, my bird is sitting in front of my mute button, so I'm not sure if I was muted or not. It's right on top of the speaker, so she's enjoying the vibrations. So I would also second what Scott has said about the feeling of gratitude that I have, and of course Marina touched on this with the letter that she shared. These folks are so grateful for the opportunity to pursue an education that they put, in my experience, for most of them, they put in a lot of effort. And one thing I would share to faculty who haven't worked with incarcerated students yet is that they're very, very little different from a mainstream class in terms of the mixed bag you get of personalities and life experiences. Truthfully, they're very, very similar to a mainstream class. The one difference is that I have observed is the level of gratitude for the efforts that they know that we're putting in to provide them an education or to participate in their education. In a mainstream class, you get students who certainly have challenges and various levels of privilege, but the sitting in a class with a mainstream group of students, you don't necessarily get that communicated back to you, that level of gratitude, the way that you do with incarcerated students. It is every single week in every single assignment from every single student, some level of thank you for doing this. I appreciate what you're doing. Can I have more paper? So there's this constant stream of gratitude. And so it really, it's not as psychically draining on us as you might imagine, because they're, unlike in a regular classroom, there's a constant stream of appreciation. And for a lot of us, we don't do it obviously for the thanks, but that constant stream of thanks helps re-energize us each week. And that's something I don't experience in my mainstream classes. In that, you have to find a different zing factor, as Teresa has said. So for me, that's the thing, is the constant appreciation and knowing the great privilege of what they're receiving is powerful. So.
Thanks. I'm seeing that Jasmine joined us. Jasmine taught last semester. She texted me last night and let me know she was going to join us today. So I don't know if you have anything. I don't want to put you on the spot. I just wanted to provide some space for you. It's an invitation, not an expectation.
Yeah, I'm at my other job, so I have to go in a minute. But I wanted to jump on because I remember the last time that we did this when we were at Mill Creek, and I loved it. I was already teaching at that time, but I wanted to jump on to also give my 2 cents, I guess. But then Veronica got up here and said exactly what I was thinking as well. It's just the feeling of that rewarding feeling of teaching. Teaching these students really brings you back to why you started teaching. And I say that because you have to be adaptable, and you also have to be creative sometimes with how you teach, what you teach, when you teach it. Because I think a lot of times what happens is we get into this mode of, oh, well, that's what this other professor did, and this is how I'm doing it, this is how I've done it all this time. You have to be very adaptable in what you do and how you do it. However, once you do teach that assignment or whichever, those students are very participatory, which is nice, and also very they have a lot of gratitude, and it brings that feeling of why you started teaching out of you. And so that's been the most rewarding thing for me when we were going in, and even during the pandemic as well. So yeah, I'm not teaching this semester. I couldn't do it, but I cannot wait to get back to it because of that. And it's every semester without fail. So
Thanks, Jasmine.
yeah.
Can I say something real quick on the student services side?
Yes, please, because I was just about to open it up. I was going to say, we got a bunch of people who aren't faculty here who have been behind the scenes making it happen. So Annie, you are on point. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. All of you, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, when I first started getting the fee waivers across my desk, because of course it's paper like the professors deal with, and we used, I particularly used to notice that students wanted to be known. They're not just a piece of paper. They're trying, and they would write little notes and extra little things about themselves on these fee waivers. So, and it was really touching to me, because it was like, in student services, it's like our honor to show that their student is valuable and known and they matter. And so a lot of times in student services, it's just get the paperwork done, get them through. But these were precious. They were like precious souls that were reaching out, wanting to do something more with their lives, really trying to go through this very laborious paper exchange just for some financial aid purposes. And so in the same sense, in our little student services side, feeling like we can really contribute to their lives and it really matters. Processing their paperwork, getting them in a program, making sure they have the access to stay in that program. And it's been very precious to be able to participate in that. So I just wanted to say.
Thank you. Annie is a serious problem solver in our group, serious problem solver. So thank you so much for all of the work that you do as well. Are there other people? I know I invited Kathy, not to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot. Kathy saves us with printing. I don't know if I have other people on the call. I'm looking, Colleen is here. I'm seeing, do we have other people that are supporting us? Regina, who
Hey,
probably
Glenda.
I can't get to say anything. Yeah, Colleen. Do you have anything you want to tell us about being
well, I think one of the things that makes our program really stand out.
Oh, I lost you. I had you, now I lost you.
Yeah, sorry. You know what?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think I know what the problem is. I got to come back in.
Oh, you're leaving?
Oh,
and coming
okay.
back?
Yeah, there's a delay. I think it's because I'm on the VPN.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you going to leave and come back, or are you going to keep going? Oh, she left and came back. All right. Other people who are on the VPN, I have no idea what the VPN is, are nodding. So I guess people are vibing with whatever the VPN problems are. Other people want to speak about what you're doing in the program, what stands out to you about the program?
So I could jump in here. Oh, is Colleen back?
I don't know. Maybe?
Well, while we're waiting for her, I just wanted to pick up on something Jasmine said and something that Annie talked about. This is maybe sort of an answer to your second question, Kalinda. So maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit
Good.
here.
Go for it.
So Jasmine talked about adaptability, the adaptability that's necessary for teaching with prep, and I'm new to prep. This is
Incarcerated students.
teaching. I'm at Folsom Prison Men's, and I think that flexibility is one of the things that I'm learning the most about. So I love your kind of platonic ideal of how everything is supposed to work in this cycle, Belinda. And I carry that around. That's great. It helps me so much to anchor my work. But the reality is that cycle gets very frequently disrupted. So one of the things I'm learning is that our students' lives are very complicated by circumstances that are completely beyond their control. And so me being all wedded to my deadlines, for example, is kind of ridiculous given the conditions under which they're trying to take college classes. So just to give kind of a somewhat trivial example, my first assignments were all supposed to be due on January 28th. Well, probably a third of the class never received the materials they would need to complete my homework in that time frame. So forget about that deadline, right? That's not reasonable. And it's very unlike another class where you've been seeing those students every week, and they still don't hand in their homework and their reasons seem really lame. My students, their reasons are very legitimate, right? And so I need to take that into consideration. And so that I'd also like to mention just something that I thought of when Annie mentioned kind of the ways in which students want to be known by us as people. So yesterday I was grading a handwritten paper which the student was trying to format using MLA style. But in his little identifying information in MLA format, next to the date, he wrote, "Happy 61st birthday to my mom." I thought, okay, that is great. I don't care that it's informal, that it's not, all beautifully academic. That's what I need to know about him. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you. It's a great example. I appreciate the example, especially bringing it down to help other people kind of translate what we're experiencing when we're working with students. Colleen, you're back. Do you have anything? Was she back? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I'm back. Now I don't have the crazy delay because I forget when I'm on the VPN and it doesn't like to work as well. So
Okay.
I think one of the things, and I'm not faculty, but because I get the mail and I see a lot of the correspondence that goes through and stuff, but I think one of the things that makes our program really stand out is that we're not a correspondence program. We're an actual, and I know we can't be face-to-face right now, and the students are really waiting to go face-to-face, but because I actually studied CTE, and got a degree in it, I really appreciate all the different learning modalities. And I know there's a large population that they have to learn by doing or being present, and they can't just do online assignments. And I just see how hard everybody's working to try and be creative and come up with things that they can do because you can't be there. And I know the students, I got a letter the other day, and it was the first time I got a letter that really broke my heart. And it was a guy that said he had been in prison for 40 years and he went in when he was 16. So he didn't have a lot of schooling, and he's trying to do school, and he's going to correspondence school, and he had to drop our class because it was just too much. But really the whole reason why a lot of the students seek our program out is because it's in person and they feel like they can learn better. And so, you know, it's just, it's great that you guys do that and make the program something that people can learn in different modalities.
Thanks, Colleen. I appreciate it. Colleen makes so many things happen that she just comes to the table to support when we just need the most random things. So I appreciate that. Regina and Kathy are on the call as well. And I just want to give a shout out to Regina, who has spent countless hours making sure that student applications and other paperwork for the fee waiver go into play. And Kathy, who, yes, we stress Kathy out with all of our printing needs, but everything goes in paper. So Kathy helps us with that. Kathy, you got anything you want to speak to?
Well, I obviously don't have any individual stories to tell because I don't have any contact in any way, shape, or form with any of the faculty, any of the students. But I do want to say that I think that this entire program is so incredibly important, and I love to see the progress and the success, and I enjoy being, even if I'm only a small part of it in the background. I'm very thankful to be part of it. That's all I got.
No, you're integral. I don't know about a small part. I just know you're integral. I can't even say the word, but other people know what I'm trying to say.
We would not have had half of our books if it was not for Kathy in the printing center. Literally half of our books at a quarter of the cost. There were quotes I was getting from the bookstore for $10,000 for books that Kathy printed for $1,000. So it was a huge, huge difference in us getting textbooks to students.
Those open access books have been very helpful to us. Open educational resources, whatever. If I'm using the wrong term, someone correct me, please. So go ahead, Amy.
Sorry, but I don't know if you all get the privilege that I get when, or our financial aid staff. I'm actually training a new person to take over for me because I will be retiring in a month. I'm so sorry.
Congratulations.
But I just wanted to kind of say that. But when you read a fee waiver, there's a section on there that students would answer if they're dependent or independent based on this federal guideline, state guideline. So many of these students are veterans. They've come out of the military. They've gotten homeless. They were foster youth. They were in legal guardianship for some reason or another where their parents weren't part of their lives. And so I get to see that, I meaning financial aid. And I don't know how much you guys all get to see that. And Kathy, I wanted to let her know, so you're helping a population that, that gets disenfranchised, not just, they come from some burdensome backgrounds. And I hate to see our military, that are in there too, that have suffered homelessness or something's happened to them or mental illness and, however they got there. But those are some of the things that financial aid gets to see a little bit more about what's happening, where they came from. And when I said, they try to reach out and talk to us, and sometimes I'll add notes in those sections. Was in military, my parents had left me, or, things like that. So just to give a little more definition of that. And
that's very helpful. I didn't know that you all got that information.
Yeah. And financial, a lot of people don't realize financial aid, we really get to see pretty much everything. And so that's just a fee waiver. And then when they're going to be able to start doing FAFSAs probably next year. That's a new federal law that just changed. So way back with Reagan, they closed down, no federal aid for anyone who was incarcerated. And that's actually changed. And they just redid the law. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a much bigger, more comprehensive application. And financial aid is really just like anybody else's life. Finances show the bottom line. Mm-hmm. Right. So a lot of times this is about their family, what's going on, who's part of it, who's not part of it. So all that is really a very interesting aspect of financial aid.
Mhm. Thanks. I'm learning all kinds of things. I would like to open this up to anyone who would like to speak to what you've been learning about effective practices, what you've been learning about collaboration, or what you're still trying to figure out. So, what you've been learning about effective practices, what you've been learning about or appreciate about collaboration, or what you're still trying to figure out or professional development needs, or anything else you want to share. So I see some people on here who I've not heard from yet, and I'm gonna invite before I call out people's names. But Portia is grinning at me, so I'm wondering. Christina turned her video on, so are you all wanting to share now? Yeah, Christina.
I will just say something about collaboration. Everyone has been so helpful. Trudy and Kathy, they're both teaching composition courses. And from the get-go, Trudy sent us her entire syllabus, and she sent lesson plans and assignments and ideas. And it wasn't something that she delayed. We had a meeting, we talked about it, and before the end of the day, Trudy had sent all of these files. And sometimes getting those materials together is not very easy, but she made it happen. And she gave me an idea about using the free book, the handout. I think we said, what is it? I get OEI and OER mixed up. There's so many acronyms, but anyway, she's using that, and I've used some excerpts from it, and that was very helpful. I just feel like a lot of, and then of course, Kathy, she has so many years of experience just collaborating, running ideas with her. It's just very helpful. I feel like everyone's doing this to me because I'm new. So I feel like I'm getting a lot of support, and I appreciate it because I was intimidated about going into the program and just not knowing, what to expect. And this training has every week we have professional development where everyone shares ideas, and there's a lot of guidance, but still, to actually have people really be there the entire time. I just feel like I'm getting a lot of support, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, Christina. I've learned a ton from you too. So that it's like mutual. Who else? Lynn, did I see you? Oh, Lynn disappeared, so maybe not.
I can add a couple words.
Oh, hi, Zen. Zen's teaching art for
Hi.
us for the first time this semester.
Can you hear me okay? My internet is not stable.
I can hear you.
Yeah, okay, nice. So yeah, I'm new to this program, and I can I can just add to what Scott said and Colleen. I'm so impressed with our students, and this is a new discipline that has been introduced. I teach art, so, and I get responses from students that say, "Wow, I could never imagine take an art class in prison." And like Scott said, sometimes people just take wrong turn. And I have this student who has been locked up since 16. He learned how to read and write in prison, and he is so talented. In my whole teaching career, I have not seen a single student who's as talented as this student. I don't even know what I can teach him, just so much talent, honestly. I mean, and art is something that a lot of students turn for introspection, and a lot of my students are actually very talented, and I take great honor actually to guide them through this experience. And something else I wanted to add about teaching strategy. So yes, I also want to add, for those who considering the teaching, that there's so much support for people who just joining in. So I really appreciate that. So about teaching strategy. So I thought about it, and I anticipated many moving parts during the process. So I implemented this system where that I tested once in my teaching practice with concurrent classes. And it's a matrix that consists, so I basically offer a matrix of assignments and students can pull out of them. The challenge is how to introduce it and stay very clear. Because my concern was that students can get confused and overwhelmed. So I came up with a system that I think is working really well. So it's like two trains. One is coming in, the other one is going out, and I have two assignments going at the same time, because and my assumption got confirmed during the semester when students told me that they only have a few days to work on the assignments somehow, because it's not always, packets not always given to them right away or something like that. I'm not sure, but and sometimes just a day or 2 days not enough when students have several classes. So when they send one assignment to me, and then the other assignment they can keep working it. And that goes back and forth until it's done, and then I introduce a new assignment. So it's like this loops, like chains. I hope it makes sense what I'm saying.
It does. It makes
And
sense.
so this train, so to speak, I'm going to use this metaphor. They're very step-by-step. Okay. So they're very step assignments, which help, I give students feedback and it helps them to guide them through learning processes. And the third element of this teaching strategy is that no matter what happens, whether students are able to send this train, so to speak, to me or not, every week they're doing the same thing. So it's like they fill in the logs with all the information, telling me what they learned, what they need, any questions, concerns, and then they are working on the weekly drawings, which this aspect is all about breaking the feedback loops that we as humans overall, develop over time. So it's all about imagination. It has nothing to do with step-by-step guidance. It's all about massaging those feedback loops out, which is scary for everybody, and especially for our students who really want clear directions because they want to follow those directions. But once they get into it, there's so much joy that they experience, and it really warms my heart. So I guess to conclude this is I find it helpful to have a variety of assignments targeting different things at the same time. That's it. That's all I have.
You're good. Thank you, Zen. I think you're illustrating what a lot of us do in this community of learners, which is engage in a lot of reflective practice and sharing. Because I'm thinking like, oh, how can I do that? And I think that that's what this community does as faculty together. I am aware of the fact that it's 10 o'clock, so I'd like to spend a few more minutes inviting anyone who'd like to talk about effective practices, collaboration, or questions you have, things you still are wondering about. I'd like to invite anyone for probably the next 5 minutes to share, and then I'm going to open it up for any questions. So is there anyone who wants to share who hasn't shared? No? Okay, so, all right, well, okay, well then I'll share one. I've been waiting to be able to share one. I want to share one about effective teaching strategies that I actually kind of took a, well, I took a gamble on, because I was thinking about the fact that like in our remote delivery, what are students most missing except for direct instruction? And I think that the thing that is most missing is any kind of discussion, right?
Yeah.
So I developed a discussion summary as part of their weekly assignments, where I asked them to pick someone to talk to about what they've read and learned about, and then try to extend that with questions or application or something. And Portia says, me too. Um, so what I found last semester was that that really worked. I had a student, I'll give one example of the way it worked. I had a student, they were studying, they were studying social modeling, or Bandura's theory of observational learning. Some of you will remember it from psych, where there was like a Bobo doll that adults beat on, and then they left the room, kids had observed it, and then kids did the same thing. So the student writes, hey, I called my mom. So as someone mentioned, the students do not have visits right now. I think Teresa said that. But sometimes they're having access to the phone. So the student says, I called my mom and I told her that the reason I was addicted to drugs was because I saw her using drugs. And I was like reading this, right? I'm sitting here reading it and I'm like, I'm not sure how this is gonna go, right? So then it continues. She said, right. And then she talked about the way that she had seen the same thing in her environment growing up, right? And so then the student reflected over how this was helpful in understanding themselves and understanding and communicating with their mom. I have received a lot of help from Danielle Beck, who is the department chair in psych, because I'm teaching psych for the first time in many years in the program this year. And she said to me, she goes, Kalinda, because I shared that with her. She said, Kalinda, that's like years of therapy right there. You know, that the person was able to make sense of it themselves, bring it back to their family, and restore and communicate about it. All from a discussion, you know, the invitation for a discussion summary. But the question that I had this semester was, well, this isn't working because students are literally in their cells for 15 minutes. And if they don't want to talk to their cellie, like I get information like my cellie is not interested in academic conversation. So I was like, oh, well, it's now working on this yard where they're on shutdown a lot more, where they're on lockdown a lot more than the yards were last semester. So I came up with a new assignment and sent it in as an option. Like I kept the same one, and then I put an optional kind of like provide your own summary and your own extension. But I don't know whether that's really, you know, that's not really a great option, but I'm excited to see what students say about it. What I think is most important is that students in their communication to me can see that I'm responding to what they're saying, which is the same on campus, right? Like following that loop of communication and connection and co-learning with the students. And I think these are some of the themes that I've heard talked about today: connection, co-learning, getting connected back to your meaning, connecting to other faculty, and connecting to a whole community at Folsom Lake College that helps the students be able to be enrolled, stay enrolled, and be successful in college courses. There's, I'm sure, a lot of other themes that I missed, but those are some of the ones that stood out to me. What I'd like to do is offer up the opportunity to ask any questions, if anyone has any questions. And if people don't have questions, if somebody has something that they would like to share. So do we have
Hi, everybody. This is Victoire.
Oh, hey there.
Faculty coordinator for the Equity Center. And I have two things. So Kalinda, thank you. You and I have had some conversations about how we could collaborate, the Equity Center and this program. And you shared with me that one thing we could do is provide like handouts that you could mail in to folks that are centered around wellness, especially in the time of COVID and lockdowns in the prison. So we are working on that. But my question is also, basically, you've given us a lot of good information about how you're operating and what you're doing in the system. What kinds of things are you looking for in terms of support? And if we're interested, are you looking for more faculty to teach different classes? Are you looking to expand? Listen, I'm trying to ask one question, but it's coming out as 10 all at once. But are you looking to expand your faculty base? Are you looking to expand your course offerings? Yeah, what can we do? How can we be involved? What are you looking for?
Yes. So first, how can you support? I'm gonna answer the second question, and then I'm gonna actually throw the how you can support out to the group to see if they want to discuss that. We will be looking for more faculty, definitely when we get face to face. I know that we have at least 5 additional courses that we need to offer next year because we got FTE for that. But we haven't created the fall schedule yet. Mari and I meet weekly, and we were just starting to discuss the fall schedule this week. So once we get the fall schedule set, we will be kind of doing a call out for faculty. We are always looking for people to this student. One of the things that I say a lot that I don't know that people realize is that, especially when we get back face to face, there is more capacity than we have the ability to meet for the needs that students have for classes, right? So on the yards that we're on, we're teaching usually 4 or 5 courses on each yard. 4 or 5 courses is going to take people forever to finish an associate's degree. So the FTE that we've been given from district provides far more our ability to expand GE courses. So yes, we will continue to be looking for and put calls out for faculty. I will also say very clearly that we are continuing to honor the student need for representation and for faculty of color to be more involved in our student population, because or in our involved with the student population, because as for those of us that have learned about mass incarceration in the United States, we understand the way that it intersects with racism. If you don't know the intersection, watch 13th on Netflix. It gives you a great historical perspective and teaches a lot about the system of mass incarceration. So that's 13th, and it's on Netflix. I don't know if it's available anywhere else. So yes, we're looking for more faculty. Now, as the Equity Center director, you ask what you can do to support faculty and students, and I'm going to throw that one out to see if anyone in the group has any requests for support, because you already honored my request, which is I'd love to see packets made that we can actually give to faculty to stuff into their packets from the Equity Center, right? I think that would be amazing. So other ideas?
Yeah, no, I wasn't necessarily just asking how the Equity Center could support. I was basically asking how people who aren't already in the program, who are already working in the program, can support.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, so yeah, like you said, I think you already answered how the Equity Center can collaborate and support, and we are working on that. And I just want to correct, I'm not the director.
Oh, did I say the wrong thing?
I'm the faculty coordinator. Yeah. And it does make a little bit of a difference.
It does. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate clarification. I'm going to keep thinking about how other faculty can support, because I don't have the answer to that one. And I think that DePauli's asking a similar question in the chat. In the chat, there's a question about course offerings. I can answer that one. Currently, we're offering English, sociology. I'm looking at the people around here. Intro to Psych, Abnormal Psych. We are offering Portia, what is your class really called? Because I always call it the wrong thing.
So I'm teaching Muffle 308, and that's the Introduction to Music, Rock and Roll History.
Ah, yes. A popular class. Alex is teaching history, and I will say that we do need more history faculty. So if anyone knows history faculty across the district, it's not only Folsom Lake faculty that can teach. If you know history faculty throughout the district that are interested, we do have courses in the fall. We will have courses in the fall in history if we can staff them. Let's see, we're offering history. I'm looking around, seeing the other folks. Business courses, social work, human service courses. I feel like I'm missing some major, we're doing theater arts courses. We're trying to hit all the parts of the GE pattern. The only part that we can't offer right now are math. And I think we're still working on what we're gonna do about the science area of the GE.
We also have communication.
Oh, yes. Yep. Thank you. I don't know if there's anything else that I'm missing. I think I got those.
Art.
Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry, Zen.
What about physical education?
Oh, that's right. So we're offering a HEED course, which is health education. Is that what the HEED? This is terrible. I made the schedule and I can't remember all of them right now. But yeah, that's another area of the GE course, or the GE pattern. Thanks, Kathy. All right, are there any other questions or comments? Yes, there are HCD courses. I will have to, I don't know which comm courses we offered. So comm is a really big class, or I'm reading the chat right now. If you all are wondering where I'm getting the questions from. So comm is one of the GE areas. Public speaking is one of the areas that we need filled, but right now we haven't been able to do that area. So there have been other comm courses that have been offered, but I don't know all of the specifics about that. So I think we can probably talk offline if you want to know more about the comm courses, because I probably need to know more as well. Other questions?
Belinda, it's Bonnie Bielefield from the Career and Transfer Center. Hi.
Hi.
I do have a question, and I'm sitting here realizing that this is absolutely the group that we needed to talk to months ago. We are finally at a place where we are with our career exploration services going to be joining. And we're figuring out right now what hard copy looks like for that, because we've been so singularly focused on remote. Right? I mean, just crazy focused on it. So we're pulling back from that now so that we can, we're going to be talking to Mari, we're getting our counselors together. We're looking at what our best approach will be for career development, and not just, as you know, we don't just do the what career do you want? We do the who am I piece. You know, who am I? What's my personality, my interests, my preferences, both personally and in a workplace, and all of that, which we'll also be sharing with faculty so that you know what we're doing. I think, which will be really helpful. And we're going to be figuring out how to best present it to students. So any input that we can get from y'all, any input from the people on the front line to tell us, hey, you need to know this, or this would be really helpful, please share with us, because we want to make our contribution really successful. And we want it to be extremely supportive of what you're doing.
Awesome. So Vani, we have a couple counseling folks in our group. My background is career counseling. So in school counseling, right? So I'm like, yes, let's do some good trait and factor stuff, right? So anyways, I'm not going to throw the serious names out, but they're coming to my mind as you're talking.
Awesome.
Teresa also has some background in some career counseling. I'm wondering if you and your team would be interested in coming to one of our Wednesday morning sessions where we could just feature, you could just kind of give us an idea of what you want, and then we can just engage in kind of like a brainstorming, what's worked, what hasn't worked, what we've learned. Is that something you might be interested in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even if our team can't make it, because as you know, the counselors, they're back to back to back all day long. The schedule is crazy, but I can definitely come in and represent and bring back information to my team. And we can do it that way from the beginning if we need to, but absolutely, please invite us.
Yeah, I want to add one other thing is that we often say that, you know, reentry begins during incarceration. What we hear are the largest barriers for reentry is a job and housing, right? And so this idea that we could be doing some career counseling and those kind of support services for students that are incarcerated is like, I often conceptualize it as building a bridge from prison back into reentry, right? And so we have the opportunity with all of the students that we serve to be building a really amazing bridge.
Yes.
And so I think this is another part of that bridge that's essential.
Absolutely. And we, like I said, you know, we don't want to do it in a microcosm. We don't want to do it over here all by ourselves. We want to be a part of what you're doing, and we want to have faculty be feeding into our processes, and we want to be pushing back out to you. Hey, here's what we're learning and here's what we're doing.
So that's awesome. And we have faculty that have taught at each of the locations with the various student populations that we have on both the different prison yards and at the different prisons. So that's also helpful, I think, to understand the different contexts that students are coming from depending on where they are. So how about if I follow up with giving you, with sending you an email about potential dates.
Perfect.
That would work. And then I'll put it out to everyone in our learning community that we're offering that.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Collaborate. Woo, yeah, fun. All right, other things people would like to ask or share. This is kind of unusually quiet. I just want to let you know. It's not usually like this on Wednesday mornings. All right. Well, if you have another question, throw it in the chat. And other than that, I was wondering if I could get 3 faculty who might like to just say something in conclusion or something that you feel like hasn't been shared that you would like to share.
I had a comment. Is the lady that talked about making soap still on? I don't remember who that was.
Yes, Kathy. That's Kathy in printing.
Hi, Kathy. So San Quentin has a podcast program called Ear Hustle, and it happens to be produced and narrated by the incarcerated staff, all prison people. And their first episode tells about how they make soap in prison. So since you had a conversation about making your own soap, you might want to listen to that first podcast from Ear Hustle. And ear hustle is prison slang, by the way, for eavesdropping. So it's kind of like the prison grapevine. So the ear hustle is how you find out what this real scoop is in there.
So I go to Ear Hustle and search soap.
No, just go to NPR podcast San Quentin or Ear Hustle podcast. Either one of them will get you there.
And it's the first, did you say it's the first episode?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, I got 2 more people that are going to give us something for the good of the order. I am convinced someone is going to.
I'll jump in.
Thanks, Alex.
One of the things that I learned that makes my life easier and definitely makes my students' life easier that are incarcerated is constant and clear communication. Sometimes as faculty, we make assumptions about what we say, or at least I do, and that really needs to be spelled out clearly because the chance for misinterpretation is always there. So I've learned that on my weekly communications after I have done grading, and for those students that I write small little handwritten notes on my communication form that I have them fill out, if I need to expand, then I'll type up an individual response. Sometimes it's rather lengthy because, as some of my fellow colleagues here have pointed out, there's some really heavy questions about historical developments and personal stuff that I have to address with them personally. And then some of the stuff is very technical, like, I don't know what MLA means. Can you send me some examples? And I'll type that up, sort of the bare bones of what I'm looking for, that kind of stuff. But that clear communication is really key. And I've shared with the group before that I've received communication a week later that a student is obviously really bothered by something that they have perceived that I said about in my grading. For example, I wrote one time, careful with language. And a student thought that I meant, be careful what you say because it's being disrespectful. And that's not what I meant. I just meant, like, be careful with sentence level errors. Like you don't know how you misused I don't know, a semicolon or something like that, or there's an incomplete sentence. That's what I meant. But I have to spell it out because I can't make those kinds of assumptions. And so I'm always thinking to myself as I'm typing my notes or writing my notes, make sure it's clear, make sure you explain it, and always just be conscious of that. So that's one thing that I've learned, and I'm getting better at that because I'm still struggling with that, but that's one thing.
Yeah, I actually am still learning that. I mean, I had a package that I thought was pretty clear, have used a similar instruction set and everything in Folsom Men's, and I sent that package over to Mule Creek, and I'm re-explaining and re-describing what I'm asking for. So obviously it's easy for me to say, well, they should just read my stuff, but the right answer is I need to reassess what I'm sending to make sure that it's more clear. And so there's several parts of my intro package that I'm starting to gather the material now to rewrite it, because I'm answering these questions. I mean, so this information was in the initial package in a certain format. Obviously, it didn't either resonate or register one or the other. And so I'm going to have to repackage this thing in a way that is a lot more, a lot clearer, a lot more, I mean, paint by the numbers, apparently. So Alex, you're, we're in the same boat here. I mean, I've been doing this for a while, and I'm still refining the process.
Mm-hmm. Scott, I found sorry.
No, go ahead, Zen.
I just wanted to say I found the podcast. It's on Pandora and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So I found it. Sounds really nice. Thanks. It just sounds interesting.
Thanks. So I want to add one last thing in conclusion, unless there's anyone else. Anyone else? I don't want to cut anyone off. Portia, are you raising your hand?
Yeah, I have to go to office hour, but I just wanted to share, I was trying to type it in the chat, that students, they spend a lot of time reflecting on the material and also kind of reflecting on their own life and experiences. And in my class, since we're talking about the history of rock and roll and learning about the different genres and whatnot, and then my discussions, they talk about how the music that they're listening to brings back a lot of good memories, whether, with family, or the music that their parents used to listen to when they're little and stuff like that. Or there was music, like I have older students who, this music was around when they were growing up, and they were kind of biased towards it. But now that they're learning about where it came from and why it happened, they have a better appreciation for it. And music that they were like so against, they're like, now they're more open-minded, and it's just really nice to see that they're expanding that way. But also like with music, it's kind of therapeutic for them. It's an outlet, and they're like some of my colleagues have said, the fact that we're teaching these classes, they're very, very thankful for us. And so I just enjoy being a part of that.
Thank you, Portia. If they knew all the work that you were doing to get those CDs together, they might be even more grateful. Teaching this class during a pandemic and teaching art during a pandemic have been supply challenges that the faculty have risen to the occasion around. I want to just conclude with some themes that I'm hearing coming up. So one of the things that I talked about in the very beginning, which I didn't plan this, but I'm really glad it came full circle, was how important it is that we continue to humanize ourselves, that we engage in actions that are not just robotic, that we're not just part of the capitalistic machine and outputting work. And I think that this humanization of ourselves, of our struggles, of our questions, of our need to connect, of our experience of experiencing gratitude, these are vitally important for us as we engage and embrace our humanity. But it's very important when we work with students who are in an environment that is dehumanizing and that does physically control, as well as, in many ways, as Teresa said earlier, emotionally and spiritually and psychologically is oppressive, right? And so I think that many of the themes that came up today align with this idea of our need and desire to connect, our need and desire to grow and learn, our need and desire to communicate effectively, especially cross-culturally, and across distances without face-to-face communication. Family came up a lot. And overall, I think that this community of professors and of all of the FLC employees that are involved is really committed to what I think of as a reflective practitioner model, which is that we try something, we put it out there and assess whether it's effective. We find out, yeah, it was okay, how can we improve, right? So this flexibility and adaptability that people spoke of today, these are the things that help us be creative and contributing, right? And find meaning. All of these pieces, these larger themes, are both what we hope happens for students and what we model and experience ourselves. Thus, I think it's really, really important that we point out that for all of us, when it comes down to it, we are cultural beings that experience the world differently because of the context, environment, oppression, marginalization, privilege that we experience. So we are within our contexts, and yet we still all have these needs to connect and communicate, to grow. And I'm thankful for this community as a place where we're able to do all of those things and we're able to facilitate that for students. So that was, it sounded like I was kind of rehearsed, right? But I was not, I promise. I got those themes as I wrote down the things you all said today. So that is kind of where I'm going to conclude this. And I'm going to end the recording. And if there are other things that people want to talk about, cool. And if not, feel free to jump out.
Thank you, everyone.